So I know I look like I'm 12, maybe 14 at the most, probably sound like it too, but that is just genetics against me. I am actually going to be 20 years old, and I found out I was pregnant when I was 16 years old, and I had my son when I was 17. For those of you that don't know, Keegan is my son, and his dad, who I refer to as my ex in all of my videos, including this one, we got together in September 2011. We found out I was pregnant at the very end of February 2012, and we eventually ended up breaking up in April of that same year, and then Keegan was born in October. Looking back, my first sign of pregnancy that I didn't realize at the time, nor did I know it was a sign of pregnancy, was my low blood pressure. I was at St. John Ambulance, which I volunteered with on a weekly basis, and we were taking everyone's blood pressure one night, and mine was coming up as like 94/50, I believe. And they all started freaking out. They're like, that's too low, what's wrong? Have you eaten today? Have you done this? Have you done that? And they even like took my blood pressure a couple of times just to make sure it was reading correctly, and they kept feeding me food because they were worried about me. So that was definitely the first sign, and I continued to have low blood pressure throughout my entire pregnancy. The lowest my blood pressure ever got with my pregnancy was 82/40. I actually found out I was pregnant at school. We went to the nurse's office because we kind of had a suspicion, but I honestly didn't really think I was to take a test because I was too scared to buy one. And sure enough, it came back with 2 big, bright pink lines. And I'm honestly so glad she had me sitting down in the chair because I thought I was going to black out when I found out. I had my first ultrasound to find out what my due date was at 5 weeks and 4 days, I think. And they gave me a due date of October 14th, but going by my last cycle, it was October 7th was my due date. At 6 weeks, my morning sickness kicked in full strength. It was really bad, to the point where I started losing quite a bit of weight, and they were getting worried because I was already considered underweight before I got pregnant. So they put me on a medicine called diclectin, and that completely changed the morning sickness. I never had any morning sickness after that. At around 7 to 8 weeks, I started experiencing really, really bad dizzy spells to the point where I would even pass out sometimes. So I immediately went to the ER, and they did a whole bunch of tests on me. They did an ECG, which is when they put a bunch of stickers around your chest and they look at your heartbeat. On top of that, they did blood tests repeatedly, they did a urine test, and they also had me hooked up to a blood pressure machine for about an hour, and they took my blood pressure every 15 minutes. So after all those tests coming back completely normal, they didn't really know what else to do until they remembered vertigo is often a pretty common side effect of pregnancy. So he sat me down, and he's like, I need you to follow my finger with your eyes. And he moved it just back and forth like this, and instead of my eyes just following it naturally, they would jerk and go back. Like, it's hard to explain, but it was creepy. They would go like this, and that would automatically trigger a dizzy spell for me. After that, he did a test where he sat me up on the bed, and he had me look to one side, and he would just literally push me over, and he watched my eyes as I fell. And the way they moved, or something, I can't remember how they moved, told him that I actually had benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, or BPPV for short. That's a big word. And that was what was causing my extreme dizziness spells and blacking out, on top of having low blood pressure. And when you're pregnant, there is absolutely no way they can treat vertigo. You actually just kind of have to toughen it out because you're pregnant, and it was the worst. Like, it was way worse than morning sickness. It never went away throughout my entire pregnancy. It stayed the whole time, and it was only really, really, really bad in the morning, like to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. Because it was really bad in the morning, I actually ended up having to drop out of my 2 high school morning classes. And even though it was bad in the morning, I still got dizzy spells in the afternoon, so I did even miss like some full days at one time. And because I missed so many days, my school almost didn't give me those 2 credits because I had missed, like, I think it was like 40-some days. And I said, you know what, like, just give me the exam. And if I can pass the exam and get a good mark on the exam, there's no reason why you shouldn't give me the credit. And sure enough, they agreed to it, and of course, I passed. At 12 weeks, I saw my OBGYN for the first time, and heard Keegan's heartbeat for the first time, too. That was amazing. And because of the confliction in due dates with my ultrasound being October 14th and my last cycle being October 7th, he decided to go with October 7th. I'm not exactly sure what his reasons were, but he was like dead set on October 7th. He was not listening to the ultrasound tech for October 14th. I honestly really liked my OBGYN. He was really nice. He was super funny. Looking back, I do notice that he didn't really do a lot of blood tests on me. I think he only ever did 2 throughout my entire pregnancy, and he never really checked my weight or anything. After my ex and I broke up, he didn't really go to any of the prenatal classes. He never went to a doctor's appointment, and he only went to the very first ultrasound. So it was definitely just me throughout the entire pregnancy, and our relationship actually got really, really bad during my pregnancy. Then going into my 3rd trimester, they did the gestational diabetes test on me, and that was like the worst 24 hours of my pregnancy ever. It made my dizzy spells like a million times worse, and I had the worst migraine for 24 hours. It was rough. Then toward the end of my pregnancy, everyone was telling me that I was going to go early. Like, every single person, they're like, oh, I went early, you'll go early, it's your first, you'll go early, blah, 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 blah. But for some reason, I had a feeling deep down that I definitely wouldn't. I felt like I was going to go past my due date. I definitely did not try to get my hopes up. The latest they'll let you go past your due date is 10 days here in Canada unless there's special circumstances. So I just kept thinking on 10 days. I'm like, 10 days after my due date, I will have my baby. And sure enough, I did not go early. I ended up going past the 10 days even and was 2 weeks overdue. But that's a different story. That is my pregnancy story, and I will be doing a labor and delivery story after this one, probably sometime this week. So make sure you watch for that. I will leave the link on screen so you can click it, or you can click down in the description if you're watching this on your phone. My labor and delivery was somewhat complicated. There's a whole story to it, but let's just say my OBGYN no longer can be a doctor in Ontario. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you liked this video, and I will see you guys later.